Okay, sounds good. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the IOE meeting. It's July 9th, 10, or 7 after 10 a.m. Welcome. I'd like to ask the clerk if she could take roll call.
Director Alvarado,
Here.
Chair Rentila,
Here.
we have a quorum.
Before I ask President Alvarado to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to introduce our hardworking staff. They rarely get recognition, so Andrew, would you like to introduce yourself and your position and take it down the line?
Okay. Andrew Cloud, General Manager, West County Wastewater.
Robin Johnson, District Clerk.
Counselor?
Nicole Witt, General Counsel.
Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge these folks because, and we have a couple in the audience. I'd like to acknowledge everybody because they do work awfully hard and they rarely get the acknowledgement they deserve. Thank you. President Alvarado, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
My pleasure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, I know that was a little bit of a surprise. I'm sorry. Chair, now's the time for public comment for items that are not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, have we received any comments?
We have not. If anyone wishes to speak on items not on the agenda, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. We have none.
Hearing none, I'd like to move on. General Manager Andrew Clow, could you please lead us through the remainder of the agenda?
Yes, thank you, Chair Alvarado, Chair Rentila.
That's okay.
Item 1 on the agenda is to accept the minutes of the June 11, 2024 Infrastructure Operations and Environment Committee. Madam Clerk, have we received public comments on this item?
We have not. If anyone wishes to speak on item 1, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
Okay. Could I get a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Item 2 is to receive a presentation on the end-of-the-year update on the capital improvements program. Madam Clerk, have we received public comments on this item?
We have not. If anyone wishes to comment on item 2, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
Thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Angela.
Hello, I'm Angela Andrews, Acting Director of Infrastructure and Planning, and I will be presenting an update on the capital plan for the end of year fiscal 2024. Thank you. So we'll go over the agenda. Just a reminder, we will only be presenting the end of fiscal year 24 today, and we'll be coming back with an update for fiscal year 25 in September. So we can go to the next slide and we can review the agenda items. We'll go over the program, the CIP performance, give an update, give some information regarding impacts to delivery, and as well as connections made to the strategic plan. So as a reminder, we do have 7 programs that are within the capital plan. The Clean and Green project is being treated as a separate program. We have facilities, force main, gravity sewers, lift stations, other, and plant process. The other is including planning studies that informs our program. It includes the planning for the master plan, which has been updated or is being updated for fiscal year '24 and on. The last update was 10 years ago, 2014, so we are due for another plan. So that is included in that program. Next, we create a capital projects plan, which informs our 5-year program that informs the programs that are within the 7 programs that were mentioned earlier. Right now, for fiscal '24, we did have 46 projects, but some of them have closed, and I'll talk about those projects that have closed. In fiscal year '24, we had a board-approved budget of $96 million, and $34 million was spent on capital delivery. Majority of that funding was spent on the Clean and Green project. The $96 million does include a front-loading of the Clean and Green project cost, and so the total is $96 million, including Clean and Green project. And as you can see, 72% of our funding is going towards the Clean and Green project. And even though it's one project, there's many projects within the Clean and Green project, which is a portfolio in itself. So we're seeing a lot of efficiencies by moving forward with the Clean and Green project. We also continue to work on facilities projects, force mains, gravity sewer, lift stations. Right now, we're looking at design and assessments. And the master plan is included in this, as well as some other updates we've made at the plant. And as mentioned earlier, the Clean and Green is taking up the majority of the budget, which is a good thing. We are seeing a lot of efficiencies with that one project. And right now, we're still reviewing the encumbrances for our projects, but these are the contracts that we have committed to, and the $107 million, 86 of that is for about 80 million is for the Clean and Green project. So a majority of those contracts are for that project. And here's a breakout of actuals year to date. This includes previous year's spending, but the total program we have is $129 million. We spent $67 million of the 129, and we have 62 remaining available for the total program, including future years that we have budgeted. So right now, the current project list we have is 41 projects, and we have 42% of that is gravity sewers. We have identified a lot of projects for gravity sewer program. We have additional force main projects, and we'll go over that in further detail. The lift station projects, we do have a separate SCADA upgrade project, as well as 4 lift stations. Right now, we're only identifying the master plan as part of the other program. And then we have other plant processes projects identified. We continue to work on Clean and Green, and the facilities project includes the upgrade here at Hilltop office, as well as some upgrades at the plant as projects that are identified. And here's a list of updates to the projects that we have currently in the program. As you can see, the projects that are in black, they're on hold right now, or they're being planned for future years. Right now, the green is what we anticipate in terms of delivering in future years or current years, and then red is behind, unfortunately. But we do have compelling reasons why. So the Foster Lane project, we're continuing to get more information in regards of landscaping, and we'll be getting info from in terms of how much it will cost to do landscaping design for that project next week. San Pablo, we actually have finished. Last time I was here, we were having issues with the contractor, and they've come back on board and completed that project. So now we're in closeout phase, which is very exciting. La Honda, we did have issues with the slope failure in that area, and so now we are continuing to move forward as we found some contingency plans and discovered that it may not impact this area in particular, but we were being cautious and not moving forward earlier, but now we're moving forward. And then we, as you know, the force main assessments is related to Tower Hills. We're still getting more information regarding budget for that project, so we're waiting for information regarding that. And then the Clean and Green project, we do have a schedule update that will be coming soon, and we'll have more information regarding scheduling for that. Robin really likes this slide. She can tell I did a lot of work on it, I'm sure. It's okay. And here are the projects by phase. As you can see, a lot of projects are in initiation as well as planning, and that's due to getting more information regarding new sewer replacement projects. And that was done with support from our Planning and Support Services team as well as CSO, and also helping with prioritizing those projects. And these are the areas where you'll see a majority of our programs, and you can see that it's distributed throughout the district. And as you can see and walked around the office, you can see that there's been significant upgrades here at the office in terms of furniture, carpet, just outside lighting. A lot of things have been happening at the district. We also did a CSO we've completed, and we continue to move forward with furniture installation and renovations here. Yes. Yes. So we're, in future years, we're looking at an environmental center and training center at the wastewater treatment facility plant. And we are looking at having classes and tours and having a facility for that. So that will be done in future years once funding is available then.
Conceptual at this point.
Yes.
Overall levy planning, design, and hopefully potential construction is that if that type of community benefit and amenity can be built into that, again, finding the funding will be a crucial part of that.
It's a great idea.
We also have the force main program. As mentioned earlier, there was a slide that was impacting the area just in terms of investigation and making sure that it didn't impact La Honda Force Main, but we've re-engaged the contractors and designers, and we're moving forward with that. But we did close out Lakeside and Hilltop Green Force Mains, and we're currently working on Carriage Hills. We received 100% design. Terra Hills, once we are done with the assessment, and Fitzgerald and Pinole Center are also slated as high priority projects in future years. And the gravity sewer program, as you can see, many projects have been submitted to capital projects, and we actually closed Tower Hills, and we are currently working on closing out San Pablo, and El Sobrante is currently under construction right now. For San Pablo, we installed about 3,000 linear feet. For El Sobrante, we're about 2,000, and so we are about to hit a mile for sewer delivery, and we're continuing to investigate these new projects, and then we'll design. And in previous projects, we closed out Chesley, Jeremy. There was a host of other sewer replacements done in previous years. And the lift stations project currently is not slated until 2027, but we still have them on our list. We're continuing to revisit the design as we're learning more information regards to the lift stations. We also are looking at some other projects that are impacting lift stations like Tower Hills. We also having some learnings from the Clean and Green project in terms of solar upgrades and any electrical efficiencies that need to be had there. We are learning a lot, so it could impact future lift station design. But right now, we're still at 95% complete at design for the 4 lift stations, which are DeAvila, Tower Hills, La Honda, and Carriage Hills.
So what's that one a photo of right there, Angela?
So that is, I believe, Pinole Center, and that included a generator, and we have the generator in case there is a power shutoff or an emergency, and it reduces the need for staff to come out with a generator, and it will provide backup power in case of an emergency.
So previously, and at many of the other lift station locations, as you just said, would have power outage, and now with public safety power shutdowns happening more frequently due to other pressures on the grid that may not have anything to do with us immediately locally, we would have to send staff out to each of these to either with portable generators or other mechanisms to be able to try to maintain and operate the lift stations. So this is building in ability to have these lift stations continue to operate in spite of a power shutdown and make the maintenance and operation of them a lot safer than in some cases having to back a trailer-mounted generator down a steep incline down towards the, I always forget the name of that location, the one where the little wood mill is. The guy had his little trees. It's over there in El Sobrante. I don't know why I can't remember the name of that station, but
McBride? Yeah. I think
it's what?
McBride.
It's what?
McBride.
McBride. Oh, that one's actually McBride? No, the one down.
was the one we had.
The one down, I don't know. You go down, it's right down by the creek, and the guy's got a little, basically his own little wood mill down there with the lumber, and he, okay. I think it's in El Sobrante. I'm sorry, this isn't an aside, this is my own problem without the map in front of me, remembering the name of the facility. But it was a good example. I was out there in the rain one night with maintenance and watching the whole operation. It's like, wow, we should not be doing this in this manner. So that's what a big part of these efforts are about, not just the consistency in the operation, but also for safety of our crews out there.
And then for plant processes, the big project there is the Sea Level Rise project. And there is a stakeholder group that's continuing to work on this project. We're at 30% conceptual design. We're currently working on 60% design, and it continues to be an important project for the district. And as we mentioned earlier, we are partnering with Carollo, but it is a lot of work on staff in terms of coordinating and getting data collection. So we've been receiving a lot of support from the plant staff as well as capital projects, and the work being led by planning and support services in coordination with Carollo. And some of the significant program activities, Clean and Green is at 60% completion. We've received comments from the Air Quality Board, and NG is responding to those comments. So that is actually good movement in terms of getting our permits. We are expecting delivery early 2025, pending a design review, a schedule review. So we'll have more information about that, but we are expecting delivery soon, and we have completed solar installation at Tower Hills Hilltop, and we're continuing to do work at Atlas for the gravity sewer program. Right now, we have a few projects in design. Lower San Pablo is actually split into 3 projects. So originally, it was one large project, and now it's turned into Row 20 and Standard, as well as it turned into 3 projects. Ravine Way. Greenway is the third phase. So instead of 3 phases, we actually split them into 3 phases. So that's something that we're reviewing now. And then we are continuing to install pipe. So El Sobrante is currently under construction. Once El Sobrante is completed, then we'll move on to Lower San Pablo due to the contractor winning both bids. We have a little bit of a timing issue, but not too bad because they'll work right after El Sobrante is completed. Force main, we are continuing to design our force mains. We have one project in construction, which is La Honda. Carriage Hills is the one in design. We're completing that design. I think we're at 100% there and hoping to complete the assessment this summer. And we have completed prioritization of our force main projects. And eBuilder, we actually are meeting with eBuilder this week to go over some coordination that we can have with GIS, Laserfiche, and invoice approvals, just to have more efficiencies with the software. And then with a sea-level rise, again, we achieved 30% conceptual design.
It's only Tuesday.
Yeah. Maybe, there it is. So we could just review. Yeah, that works. I'll take it. So that one right there. Yep. So impacts to delivery. We had some coordination issues with different public agencies. As you know, sometimes we're impacted by other people's timelines, and so we've been coordinating with them. Procurement has been an issue. A lot of our projects are really complicated and don't necessarily fit the mold of the typical procurement process. So Hanson and Bridget has been helping us with figuring out those procurement issues. There's been added scope to projects, including what I discussed earlier with the new 2 phases of Lower San Pablo now turning into 3. When we have those kinds of add-ons, it does impact when we go out to bid. But it also helps because we're looking at reducing the impacts to the neighborhoods. So we don't have to do one project, then a few years later, we're come back and doing it again. Planning and support services is trying to catch that in order for us to just do it one time and then we're done. So even though it might impact us on the front end, it actually is helping the community on the back end. So those kinds of changes are actually welcomed. But when we have the project prioritization process, that will also help with reducing some of that and making sure that we're being efficient when we're looking at design. We reprioritize projects. As you know, we have a few emergencies this year, and so when that happens, our staff actually helps out when those emergencies happen. For example, we did have Carriage Hills listed as a force main, but when we had the emergency, that took priority, so things shifted in terms of delivery of force main projects. We continue to look at prioritization and make sure it matches up with funding, and then we make sure that that we are not just doing projects in one specific area of the organization. So we are making sure that we're funding gravity sewer projects, force main projects, in addition to the huge Clean and Green project that's happening. So, but it's still, we need to be conscious with our dollars. So that's something that we've been looking at in terms of planning. And then for the strategic plan, we have goals that are identified in the strategic plan and adopt infrastructure and maintenance, modernization strategies. We're doing that by upgrading our system. We also are meeting with agencies quarterly. For example, we meet with San Pablo quarterly. We go to pipe user group meetings. We try to attend as many conferences as possible and make those connections. So that's something that we're doing in terms of collaborating with other agencies. Being an environmental steward, sea level rise is obviously a project that is huge for our organization. and it's something that we're thinking about for the future, but we're actually doing it right now with the Clean and Green project. We are updating our policies and practices. We're working closely with finance and administration to make sure that we are following their financial policies, and we're having regular meetings. And one of the biggest changes we've made is actually having monthly coordination meetings to ensure that our records are matching with each other, and it's been extremely helpful in terms of producing financial reporting for the organization. We are doing that as well in data management. We have added on CMMS, working on CMMS, OpenGov, and Laserfish, in addition to the previous softwares I mentioned in previous presentations. So we're continuing to leverage technology to help support our program. And recruiting, developing, retaining our employees. I am happy to report that everyone at Capital Projects has their project management professional certification. So we're very proud of our project manager, Mohammed Masoud. He is our newest project manager. He's been here a while, but he's our newest project manager, and he was able to obtain his certification this year. So we're very celebratory regarding that. And then we are engaging with the public. We're continuing to send letters. We attend outreach meetings. We try to get to know folks out in the community, but we also take that information so we can provide updates on what's happening with their projects. I know one of my project managers gives their personal cell phone, well, not their personal, but their professional cell phone number, and also provides information when there's any project issues. And then our contractors are sure to make sure that they come and talk to the district if there's any issues. So we've been trying to be accessible for our residents. When we have the letters, we have a project manager identified so they can go directly to that project manager instead of just calling the main office line. They have direct access to the project manager. So we're hoping that will help with relations when we have these projects. And then with the Sea Level Rise Protection Project, they have community engagement in terms of informing what's happening with the community and learning more about the community to inform the project. And then Clean and Green has meetings with the actual water industry. We have a lot of presentations. We are going for different conferences and presenting at those conferences in partnership with our project team. So that is going to continue to happen throughout the project, and probably for after even the project ends, because once it's done, people want to know more about it and how we did it. So we'll continue those exercises in terms of informing the general public about what's going on at West County. And that is the end. If you have any questions, I'm here and available.
Any questions?
Yeah, when you said you meet with the last slide there with the city of San Pablo, what do you guys meet about? What do you do?
Well, we try as much as possible to coordinate moratoriums and understanding when are they doing their paving projects, if they have any bicycle lanes, seeing if we can catch it before it happens. It's not 100%, but it's getting better, and we are actually trying to expedite a few projects before the moratorium hits. So that's what we mainly meet about. If there's any major projects in terms of lift stations or anything like that, then we'll inform the public agencies. But it's mainly because of moratoriums and paving.
Is there a particular meet with?
Public Works.
Public Works.
Public
They've
Works.
been helpful.
Very helpful. And they've, even when we have an issue with a contractor, we kind of hit the contractor with the 1-2 punch, and they'll help us out a little bit in terms of expediting. So they've been great partners for us.
Okay, great, thank you.
Nothing seems to irritate a resident more than when their street has finally been newly paved and the local utility comes and digs it up again, whether that be us, East Bay Mud, PG&E, and often it's unavoidable because of, breakages or failures. But what Angela's referring to is that kind of utility coordination to try to, at times, plan our projects or reprioritize ones that could be shifted. We could either do one on this side of town or one at this end of the district, but this one gets in just before a planned paving project, so that would reprioritize it and have us do that one sooner. Those types of coordination that we try to do, because from the public perspective, they see public works. They don't necessarily see 3 or 4 different agencies.
Right.
Yeah, that answered part of my question. My question was, in general, how do you prioritize the new projects? Do you go through this one city first, finish one city, or
It's not,
there's no set?
we try to think of equity as we look at projects, but we really look at what is the criticality of that failure. We try to make sure that we don't look just at age, but what type of pipe it is, what is around the area. There's a lot of information in terms of pipe prioritization, and that actually is what we look at in terms of projects. We do have a prioritization working group where every division has a representative that will advocate for projects to be prioritized. So that also impacts it. And then we also look at the type of project that it is. So not just pipe projects, but is the force main, is that project more important to tackle right now? So for example, Carriage Hills was on that list. We had to come together as a group and realize, oh, we need to get to that project sooner rather than later. So that's what impacts a lot of our projects. And right now, Clean and Green is at the top of that list. We want to make sure that project is done. But we do have other projects that are high priority, but they're all in different areas within the district.
Yeah, it could be a very complicated question with a very complicated answer.
We do have a process, though. We do have it's similar to what Carollo presented for the master plan. We have some of the same methodology we use for prioritizing our projects.
Thank you.
We aren't looking at the projects from a prioritization standpoint to say we're doing a certain percentage of projects within this part of the district and a certain percentage within that part of the district. We're looking at it as a district-wide effort and where there's the greatest potential liability if there's a failure, where there's and that's the type of thing that Ray was talking about with the master plan, is you look at the potential for failure and the consequence of failure. And you layer all of those, and then we look at things like, oh, they're going to pave here. Well, let's move that one up a little bit, because with everything else, well, we want to get in front of that. So there's a whole series of prioritizations, and as we know, they sometimes get reprioritized, which is part of why Angela mentioned that this is an update on what has been accomplished, and there's been tremendous accomplishment in improving the project delivery system in our ability to deliver on capital projects, to the point that we've been very successful in spending a lot of money and delivering a lot of projects. And as Justin has pointed out in the budget review, and we're going to come back, it's been the Finance Committee, but to talk about that a little bit more. And then we'll come back in September and take a look at the capital program for fiscal year 25 and see if we're going to make any adjustments to the prioritization of those projects, with the potential to slow down a little bit of what we might have planned in the 5 or 10-year plan, to make sure that some of the other assumptions that we've made either come true, or if they don't, what impact will those have? And some of those, for real quick, would be the amount of time it's taken to complete the Clean and Green project. It's taken longer, so it's costing more money to continue to have Synagro out there. That's a cost. The biosolids were anticipated to be a potential, not a large one, but a potential revenue stream. They're going to continue to be an expense, and that has to do with regulatory changes that we have no control over. So there's a number of things like that. We want to make certain that we are projecting the potential work within the capital program. We want to make sure we can fund what we say we're getting under construction on, and make sure that our operating budget, when I say our operating budget, that doesn't just mean operations and maintenance. It means all of personnel, as opposed to the capital budget for specific projects, that we will make sure that's solid. And at what point do we look at, well, we will be looking at rates and say, well, our projections from a number of years ago, are they holding true, or are we going to need to increase rates either sooner or at a more accelerated pace than we might have otherwise wanted? And then that ties in with the strategic planning process, which we'll be going through with the board in the fall, which will then inform those budget decisions in our next 2-year budget cycle. So it's not stopping anything, it's merely pausing and making sure we're evaluating so we don't get ourselves into a position where we can't fully fund ourselves.
And I find comfort in the fact that all of this is data-driven and is not just guesswork, and that analyzing the rates and comparing them to what we're doing is going to be a reality. That's something that we're going to have to discuss down the road, and I appreciate the fact that we have all this data to substantiate where we're headed to and why the rate increase may be inevitable.
And a rate increase was, the last time that it was approved, it was certainly contemplated and expected. It's just at what rate might we need to increase? Because the reality is capital projects there were some significant ones, the work at the plant to get our secondary effluent up to the point we could send it across the street to the East Bay mud. But the system as a whole, the collection system, force mains, et cetera, really were quite neglected, which is not uncommon throughout the region and these types of agencies. But to sort of bring ourselves back to where we should be, it costs. And that's what we're trying to spend it as effectively as possible and prioritize it. But we want to have some more discussions with the board when we take a look at our strategic plan, because the board has expressed interest in some other areas they'd like us to be able to focus on and add to and improve upon. And we have to take a look at what that means for rates and which things the board really wants to prioritize and have us focus on. Because there's a plan, and then there's a budget forecast to try to fund that plan, and then there's an actual appropriation of budget, and then in the end, the actuals. So each one gets a little bit more refined, and right now the plan does not look like it can be fully funded based on current assumptions and some of the projections that we have. So we're going to have to adjust some of those.
Thank you.
I have another question. When is this end of year update going to be given to the full board? Yes. And when is it? And when, I'm sorry?
In September.
Okay, thank you. Because I think at that point, it's imperative that the entire board look at it and actually listen to the data that we do have. And I know there's, that the board wants to do some other things, maybe, but we also need to listen to our staff that we hired to make sure that we're going in the right direction. So thank you.
Thank you.
And that's part of the fiscal year 25 and forward, that in September we'll be able to make some other projections about that and provide that. But it's the whole process of talking about our budget that we've been coming forward with, the strategic planning process, some of the things we'll talk about at the board retreat regarding the responsibilities of the board. Because we as staff, we can come up with the prioritizations and come up with the project lists, but in the end, that really is the decision of the board. Exactly, is that the direction we want to take, and how much funding do we need, and how much of a rate increase is reasonable or not reasonable. Those are clearly decisions that the board will have to make, but we want to make sure that we can get as much of that information to the board as possible so you can make that kind of an informed decision. And so that's what this process is right now. And I don't want to create any alarm within our own staff, and I'll say it again here in the meeting. Expect no impact to the operating budget and the staff that we currently have or the positions that we have. Those are funded, and we expect will continue to be funded. We want to take a look at the place and the opportunity. If how much money do we put into the one-time expenditures, and the one-time expenditures being the capital projects. While very important, there's a little bit more discretion in there than saying with our operating budget. And I'll say the word, but I'll make sure I'll put in front of it no. We expect no layoffs or removal of existing positions. And that's what we're trying to do, is be prudent about that to make certain that we don't get ourselves into that kind of a box.
And I appreciate that we're having this conversation sooner than later. Sticker shock is not always the greatest thing, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
I would have loved it even a little bit sooner, but here we are.
So I guess we're at the clerk. Do we have any?
The next item on the agenda is reports and issues and matters pertaining to the work of the committee. We have not received any public comments on this item. If anybody wishes to comment on item 3, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
Well, at this point, does staff have any reports for the committee?
No additional reports, Chairman Thielen.
Okay, and Vice President Alvarado, and before we adjourn, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
No.
Yes, we're at the point where we adjourn the meeting. I appreciate everyone for coming, and again, these meetings can be found online at West County Wastewater District's website, so please enjoy. And it is almost 10:50, July 9th. We close this meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.